Hello everyone, what's up? Welcome to the GMB channel. Hope you will enjoy our video. Before we begin, hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Here is the news title. Rachel Reeves dealt huge blow as unpopularity laid bare in new poll. The Chancellor has faced an ongoing backlash in the wake of her budget. Rachel Reeves was dealt a fresh blow after new polling found half of Britons say she has been doing a bad job as Chancellor. Just 15% said the Chancellor had done well in the Ipsos survey, while the rest said neither or did not know. Some 52% said Ms. Reeves's decisions have made them less confident about economic growth, including a third of Labour voters. 2 in 3 disagree with the controversial policy of stripping most pensioners of winter fuel payments. Just over half, 53%, oppose the hike in employers' national insurance contributions. However, 72% support increasing NHS funding in the poll of 2,248 British adults carried out from February 7 to 11. Gideon Skinner, Senior Director of UK Politics at Ipsos, said, "While increasing NHS funding is welcomed by a substantial majority, the public remain unconvinced about the overall direction of the economy under Rachel Reeves' stewardship. The fact that half of Britons believe she is doing a bad job as Chancellor, coupled with widespread pessimism about rising unemployment, should sound alarm bells in Downing Street. This negativity is likely fueled by the significant proportion of the public, 50%, who feel less confident about economic growth following her policy decisions. The Chancellor's efforts to highlight investment and a long-term vision for growth have yet to resonate with voters, who are continuing to feel pressures from the cost of living. It comes as Ms. Reeves has faced an ongoing backlash since her tax-hiking budget last October. There is speculation she could be moved out of 11 Downing Street in a reshuffle by Sir Keir Starmer. The Chancellor's efforts to highlight investment and a long-term vision for growth have yet to resonate with voters, who are continuing to feel pressures from the cost of living. It comes as Ms. Reeves has faced an ongoing backlash since her tax-hiking budget last October. There is speculation she could be moved out of 11 Downing Street in a reshuffle by Sir Keir Starmer. Ed Miliband's mad policy that proves he badly needs one lesson from Donald Trump. Miliband seems intent on proving to the British people that he doesn't have the courage to do what is right for us, in a move that can only be described as a monumental act of national self-sabotage. Internationally embarrassing British Energy Secretary Ed Miliband has used the discovery of a treasure trove beneath our feet in Lancashire to reaffirm Labour's mad commitment to permanently ban fracking in the UK. This decision, coming hot on the heels of the discovery of a massive gas field in Lincolnshire, is not just misguided. It's a betrayal of Britain's economic future and energy security. The incredible Lincolnshire discovery represents a potential game-changer for the UK's energy landscape. Experts estimate that this single field could fuel the entire country for a decade, providing a much-needed respite from our growing dependence on foreign energy imports. Yet, in a display of ideological blindness that would be comical if it weren't so incredibly dangerous, Miliband seems determined to leave this treasure trove untapped. Fortunately, Reform UK, surging in the polls, would reverse Labour's economic suicide over energy policy. Mark my words, net zero is the next Brexit set to divide the nation, and when we're poorer because of net zero slavery, I know which way a referendum would go. Let's be clear about what's at stake here. The UK is facing an unprecedented energy crisis. Households are buckling under the weight of skyrocketing bills. Industries are struggling to remain competitive, and our national security is increasingly vulnerable to the whims of foreign powers. The solution to these problems lies quite literally beneath our feet. Yet Miliband and his Labour cohorts would rather genuflect at the altar of made-up climate alarmism than take the necessary steps to secure Britain's energy future. The irony of Miliband's position is that it flies in the face of scientific consensus and economic reality. Whatever you think about CO2 having absolutely nothing to do with so-called man-made global warming, natural gas is widely recognized as a crucial bridge fuel in the transition to a low-carbon economy anyway. It's cleaner than coal, more reliable than wind or solar, and essential for maintaining grid stability as we're foolishly forced to increase our reliance on intermittent renewable sources. By blocking domestic gas production, Miliband is not accelerating our journey to net zero. He's handicapping it. The economic benefits of a thriving shale gas industry cannot be overstated. We're talking about the potential creation of hundreds of thousands of well-paying jobs, billions in tax revenue, and a much-needed boost to struggling local economies. At a time when Britain is desperate for economic growth and investment, turning our backs on this opportunity is nothing short of negligent. But perhaps the most galling aspect of Miliband's stance is its sheer hypocrisy. While he gets top marks from Davos's and Preen's impostures about the dangers of fracking, Britain continues to import vast quantities of gas from countries with far less stringent environmental and labor standards. How does it serve the global environment to outsource our energy production to nations with lower regulatory standards? How does it help British workers to send jobs overseas? The answer, of course, is that it doesn't. But such inconvenient truths seem to matter little in Miliband's out-of-time, out-of-step world of green virtue signaling. The Climate Change Committee, the government's own advisory body, has projected that the UK will face a shortfall of more than 1 trillion cubic meters of gas between now and 2050. The North Sea can only provide a fraction of this, leaving us increasingly reliant on imports. Yet rather than addressing this looming crisis by developing our domestic resources, Miliband seems content to leave Britain at the mercy of volatile international markets and geopolitical instability. It's well worth noting that even as Miliband clings to his anti-fracking dogma, the global tide is turning. Many of the same green tech elites who once championed hardline anti-fossil fuel policies are quietly pivoting towards more pragmatic approaches. They recognize what Miliband refuses to acknowledge, that energy security is national security, and that a balanced approach to energy policy is essential for economic stability and growth. The arguments against fracking, primarily concerns about seismic activity, have been vastly overblown. Modern extraction techniques are safer and more efficient than ever before. The earthquakes cited by opponents are often imperceptible tremors, no more significant than those caused by passing trucks or construction work. To sacrifice our energy, independence on the basis of such flimsy evidence is the height of irresponsibility. Discovery is not an isolated incident. It's just one of several geological features around Britain that may contain economically viable gas resources. By closing the door on fracking, Miliband is not just rejecting a single opportunity. He's potentially locking away decades' worth of energy security and economic prosperity. It's time for a reality check. We need a balanced, pragmatic approach to energy policy, one that recognizes the crucial role of natural gas as a bridge fuel. Then coming up the pass is nuclear, while still acknowledging the role renewable technologies might play as part of the mix. Miliband's ideological intransigence on this issue is a luxury Britain simply cannot afford. As energy prices soar and our dependence on foreign imports grows, the need for domestic energy production has never been more urgent. The shale gas beneath our feet represents not just energy security, but a lifeline for struggling communities, a boost to our national economy, and a path to a more stable, prosperous future. The choice before us is clear. We can embrace our natural resources and secure our energy independence, or we can continue down Miliband's path of economic self-sabotage and energy insecurity. It's time for common sense to prevail over ideology. The future of Britain's energy sector, and indeed our national prosperity, hangs in the balance. If Miliband truly cares about the future of this country, which I'm convinced he doesn't, he will abandon his misguided fracking ban and embrace the potential of our natural resources. Anything less is not just a failure of leadership. It's a betrayal of the British people and the generations to come who will bear the cost of his short-sighted policies. The time for action is now. We must demand that our leaders put aside their ideological blinders and act in the best interests of the nation. The treasure trove beneath our feet is calling. Will we have the wisdom and courage to answer? If Ed Miliband learns only one lesson from President Donald Trump, it should be drill,
Rachel
baby
Reeves
drill, huge blow as unpopularity laid bare in new poll introduction. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, has faced a significant political setback as new polling data reveals widespread dissatisfaction with her handling of the UK economy. According to an Ipsos survey, half of Britons believe she is doing a poor job, with only 15% viewing her performance positively. These results underscore the growing public concern over her policies, particularly those introduced in her recent budget. With a third of Labour voters expressing skepticism and key policy decisions sparking backlash, Reeves's position appears increasingly precarious. The budget and its impact. The Chancellor's latest budget, unveiled in October, has been met with fierce criticism. Central to the controversy are tax increases, including a hike in employers' national insurance contributions, which 53% of Britons oppose. Many businesses have raised concerns that this measure could stifle job creation and economic recovery, while economic analysts warn of potential downturns in investment. Moreover, the decision to strip most pensioners of winter fuel payments has caused further discontent, with 2 in 3 people opposing the move. This policy has been perceived as disproportionately affecting the most vulnerable in society, adding to the strain of the ongoing cost of living crisis. Public reaction polling data indicates that Reeves's economic policies have failed to instill confidence in the electorate. A striking 52% of respondents said her decisions have made them less optimistic about the country's economic growth. Among Labour supporters, this figure remains alarmingly high, suggesting that dissatisfaction extends beyond traditional Conservative voters. Despite this negative reception, there is significant support for increasing NHS funding, with 72% of those surveyed backing this initiative. However, critics argue that Reeves has yet to convincingly explain how these increases will be sustainably financed without exacerbating the deficit. Labour Party challenges. Within Labour ranks, there is growing speculation that Sir Keir Starmer may consider a cabinet reshuffle that could see Reeves moved from 11 Downing Street. Some party insiders suggest that her economic strategy has not effectively countered Conservative criticisms, nor has it provided the bold vision for growth that many voters expect. The divide within Labour reflects broader tensions about economic policy direction. Some MPs advocate for more aggressive interventionist measures, while others argue for fiscal caution to avoid alienating middle-class voters. Reeves's policies have so far attempted to strike a balance, but dissatisfaction on both ends suggests she may struggle to maintain broad party support. The winter fuel payments controversy. One of the most contentious aspects of Reeves's economic strategy is the policy of removing winter fuel payments from most pensioners. While the government has defended the move as a necessary cost-saving measure, critics argue it disproportionately affects the elderly, particularly those on fixed incomes. Polling data reinforces this view, with 2/3 of Britons opposing the decision. Pensioner advocacy groups have been vocal in their criticism, warning that the policy could push more elderly citizens into fuel poverty during the winter months. This backlash could have significant electoral consequences for Labour, particularly in constituencies with older populations. Employer NI hike debate. The increase in employers' national insurance contributions has sparked alarm among businesses and economic experts. Many argue that the move disincentivizes hiring and could slow job market growth. With inflationary pressures still lingering, there are concerns that higher employment costs could lead to wage stagnation or job cuts. Businesses have warned that the tax hike could undermine the UK's competitiveness, particularly in key sectors, like technology and manufacturing. Conservative politicians have seized on this issue, framing it as an example of Labour's perceived hostility towards enterprise. The NHS funding dilemma. While increasing NHS funding is a popular policy, it effectively remains a significant challenge. The public overwhelmingly supports additional investment in healthcare, but with tax increases already facing resistance, Labour must find a way to bridge the gap without further alienating voters. Reeves has attempted to present her fiscal strategy as responsible and forward-looking, but doubts remain about whether her government can deliver tangible improvements in NHS services without increasing public debt. So what do you guys think about this update? Let me know in the comment below. If you like my video, please press like button and subscribe for more. Hope I'll see you in next video.